Okay, let's talk about importing data from a text file. And there are two common text files that you would possibly be using. One is a delimited file format where basically you have data that is separated by tabs, as you could see here in this example. And also you'll possibly have an option or have a file format where that same information is separated by commas, as you see here. Now, you have to understand that depending upon what program that you pull this information from, you may get a file format like this that's saved as a text file with the extension .txt, or you may get the same information that is saved in a comma separated file format, which is this one, and has an extension of .csv, so .txt and .csv. So again, you don't necessarily have control over which one of these two formats that you may get. The program that you're pulling this information from controls that format. But when you get this information and you want to pull it into Excel, how do you go about doing it? Well, that's what I'm going to show you here, and I wanted you to see these two examples first. Remember, these are delimited and separated by tab, and these are separated by a comma. So what I want to do is to open up Excel, and I've already got Excel open, and I've already opened this file previously. Let me close it out real quick because I want you to see this from the very beginning. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new blank document, and I want to insert. I'm going to show you both of these. So we're going to go and click the Data tab, and we're going to select From Text. Data tab, and then From Text, and it's going to ask us where is this file at that you want us to import. Now, I'm going to make this a little bit wider because I want you to see my file type columns over here. I've got this same file over here already separated with different file extensions and saved as different file types. And here you can see that one file is already saved as a comma separated value file, and the other is saved as a text document. You don't see the actual extensions here, but this one is saved as a .csv file, and then this one is saved as a .txt file. So let's start first of all, and let me show you what it looks like with a text file. It's going to look very, very similar, but slightly different. So if I double click this, it's going to open up the text import wizard, and it can detect that this, and in most cases it's going to be delimited with a character such as a comma or a tab. And down here you get a little bit of a preview of what this is going to look like as of right now. It shows you the data. So now I want to click next, and it's notice that by default it is asking, it can detect, and it thinks, hey, is this data separated by a tab? And yes, it is, because we opened up the data file, and that particular data, that text file, was actually delimited as a tab. So this is already set up for us. And down here you can see how a rank number is in one column, and the name of a city or a geographic area is in another column, and a housing unit estimates in another column, and so forth. So that is correct already. So now we click next, and then you could click on each of these headings down here in the preview, and then you can go ahead and select a format. But for right now, we're just going to leave all this using general format, and then we click finish. And it's going to ask you, where do you want to put the data? And because we had already clicked in cell A1, that's where we want that data to go, so we would just simply click OK. And you would see now what all this data would look like in Excel. And you see that this information, it's separated the way we want, and you've got rank and geographic area and housing unit estimates and so forth. So that's one way of importing data. Now, the other way that you can do it, and it's really the exact same way, it just depends upon the data that you have. I want to create a new sheet, and I want to show you the same process again, but this time we're going to use the CSV file, or the comma separated value file. So now this time I want to come up here, and I want to click again from text, and then here This time I want to select the comma separated value file, and I'm going to double click it. And again, it's going to open up the text import wizard, and the first screen here is going to look exactly the same, but when I click next, notice here how by default it's set on tab, but this information is not separated by a tab. Notice we don't have a preview in here because this was not saved when the file was created. All of this data was not separated by a tab. It was separated by a comma, and you can look down here and see these commas. And by the way, if you look at these numbers right here, you can see, for example, 39309. That's inside quotation marks because that number contains a comma, and we want to make sure these two numbers stay together so that this is treated as one number and not two. But what you have to do is to come over here and uncheck tab, and then you have to select comma. And then you see immediately the change it's made to this data. And then you click next. And then again, we're going to go ahead and skip this part from now. But then for now, then we're going to click finish. And again, we want this to go into cell A1. And again, the information looks pretty much, well, it does look exactly the same. So again, it all depends upon what type of data you have to start with, which you don't have any control over. What program, when you go to download that data, what format does it put it in? And again, in most cases, it's going to either use a tab delimited format or it's going to use a comma separated file format. That's all for this activity. If you have any questions, please let me know.